it's been in the 60s here in the Portland, Oregon area, and when the weather gets like this and I actually have the car, one of my absolute favorite things to do whenever I'm going anywhere, not that I'm going very many places considering the state of the world, but one of my favorite things to do when I have to drive somewhere is to roll down the windows, hook my phone up to the car radio, blast the volume, and go down the interstate playing surf music. There's just something about the speed, the cool air flapping around. Flapping? Does air flap? Well, you know what I mean. The air just pouring into the car and just the music playing. It's just, it's a magical thing for me. And you know what's even cooler is when I get to do it at night, but I haven't been out in the evening a lot lately. Anyway, while I was doing that the other day, I decided to play some music that I hadn't listened to in a while. I listened to a lot of instrumental surf music because of Monster Kid Radio and, for fun. So I decided to dial up the Bandcamp page for the French surf band Moms I'd Like to Surf. And I ended up listening to their album Beach Control to Major Knob. And they have a song called Hipster on a Beach. And that's what you're listening to right now. My name is Derek M. Cook, and I am the writer, host, producer of Monster Kid Radio, the podcast devoted to the classic and sometimes the not-so-classic genre cinema of yesteryear. Welcome to the show. Big thanks to Moms I'd Like to Surf for letting us play their music here on the show. I haven't played them here on the show in a very long time. I will make sure there's a link in the show notes so you can get over to momsidlikeTosurf.bandcamp.com and you can check out their entire catalog. I'll play the song in its entirety at the end of the show as well. So, this week here on the show, we're doing a movie discussion, a review, a conversation. Scott Morris is here and we're talking about The 27th Day. The 27th Day is a science fiction film and it's not a typical 1950s sci-fi film. If you haven't seen the movie before, I highly recommend that you check it out. We are going to spoil a lot of it, as we typically do these days. You will get the spoiler warning at the beginning of the conversation. If you haven't seen the movie, again, go see it, and then come back here to listen to Scott and I and break it down, talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, some of the surprises that we found along the way. It's a fun film. Also, we have Kenny's look at Famous Monsters of Filmland, and he, surprised me this time around by talking about a movie that I would have never considered talking about here on the show, but I'm really excited for that segment as well. Mark Matzke is taking the week off. The Beta Capsule review will be back next week. Mark just needed to take a week off, so that'll be coming back next time around. So no Beta Capsule review this week, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't have some Ultraman in your life, so hop on over to the Subaraya YouTube page and just check out Ultraman. They've got so much up there for you to watch for free right now. And yeah, I know it's in Japanese, but you turn on the captioning and the auto-translate and you get a pretty good approximation of what they're saying in English. So go watch some of that. You know what? I'll even make sure there's a link in the show notes. So that's what we've got coming up this week here on the show. Why don't we go ahead and roll into Kenny and then the conversation with Scott now.
It seemed incredible that the microscopic material that Space Master X7 brought back to Earth from outer space could grow into this crawling, pulsating, thinking mass of protoplasmic evil.
As the specimens grow, their need for nourishment also increases. Because of its color, I call this organism blood rust.
Joe. Blood rust.
Palmer.
It lived on flesh and destroyed everything that stood in its way. There was only one way to stem this red tide of destruction, with total warfare.
One human contact, one unwitting person who spreads this thing can carry contagion all over the country, all over the world.
The entire forces of a nation mobilized to hunt down any possible carrier of this dread contamination. Among them, this beautiful blonde who fled in panic because of the shameful secret she had to hide from the world. The woman they have to find, The taint they have to destroy with fire and fury to stop the creeping terror that's spread by land and through the air.
We can't get our landing gear down. Blood rust must have damaged the hydraulic system. We'll have to make it a belly landing.
North-south runway. We'll lay a fomite path for you.
I'd like to take a second to thank our advertisers like Stuffed with Character and Stephen D. Sullivan. If you'd like to advertise on this stream or even the Monster Kid Radio podcast, please reach out to me at monsterkidradio@gmail.com. I'll send you an ad sheet and we can discuss rates. Thanks again.
From a world beyond our own come the forces of nature unleashed. Daikaiju Attack, the serialized giant monster story, presented free every week on daikaijuattack.com and sdsullivan.com. Become a member of the Daikaiju Attack group on Facebook. Join the action today.
Hello there, Monster Kid Radio heads. This is Kenny with a look at Famous Monsters of Filmland. Today's film, 27th Day, was not covered in FM, so in honor of our Disney superfan guest, Scott Morris, we're going to look at yet another Disney film covered in the early 80s, Dragon Slayer. In issue 176 from August of 1981, we have a preview article. It was 6 pages long and had 14 photos. It included a brief synopsis and this interesting information. The last time Walt Disney Productions gave us a Sorcerer's Apprentice was in 1940, when Mickey Mouse unsuccessfully tackled an army of rampaging brooms. Now, in conjunction with Paramount Pictures, their second co-production since last year's Popeye, Walt Disney Productions presents Dragon Slayer. The man who plays the pivotal role of Ulrich in Dragon Slayer is one of the most respected actors in the world, Sir Ralph Richardson, who starred in the long-ago H.G. Wells sci-fi classic Things to Come, has been acting professionally for 60 years, though this is the first time he has starred in a monster movie. The 80-year-old actor was fittingly dubbed a knight in 1974. Young Peter MacNicol appears as Galen, who must battle the dragon. It is no help to Galen that Peter's real father is a member of the clergy, or that before he became an actor, Peter wanted to be a paleontologist and study dinosaurs. This film gave him the chance to study a giant lizard close up. Actually, Peter admits that facing the dragon was not the most difficult part of his role in the picture. As an apprentice sorcerer, he had to master sleight-of-hand tricks to perform in the film. I hated magic when I was a kid, he admits, because it's so frustrating not being able to follow something that is obviously happening in front of your eyes. Now that he knows how it all works, thanks to tutoring by magician Harold Taylor, he finds it a most fascinating art. Clash of the Titans? It's unusual that 2 big-budget $14 million films will appear in the same month with virtually the same plot. That's what happened here. Clash of the Titans, Dragon Slayer. A princess in distress, a young hero with magic weapons, a marauding monster, an ancient setting, and one thing more, stop-motion monsters. Whereas the incredible creatures in Clash of the Titans were animated by the brilliant Ray Harryhausen, their demonic dragon was brought to frame-at-a-time life by up-and-coming stop-motion stars Phil Tippett and Dave Bonnet, who worked for George Lucas Industrial Light and Magic. The miniature model was melded in the film with footage of a life-size mock-up of the dragon, built the same size as the real monster, 40 feet long with a 90-foot wingspan. Ironically, Dragon Slayer was shot at the Pinewood Studios in London, at the same time Clash of the Titans was filming there as well. In fact, Harryhausen paid a visit to the Disney Paramount set on one of the days when the giant dragon model was being used. Thus, he was present to witness the technicians turn on the gas for the beast to spit flame, and saw the intense heat incinerate the metal and plastic head. But the special effects setback was overcome, and Dragon Slayer has emerged quite a remarkable film. The miniature baby dragons were all Yoda-like puppets operated by the talented people of the Lucas Studio, with help from the Disney special effects team. Dragging out dragons. So, in the tradition of such classic dragon films as Siegfried, The Magic Sword, The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, The Sword and the Dragon, and The Wonderful World of the Brothers Grimm, we now have Dragon Slayer, a modern-day ancient classic. Almost a year later, Dragon Slayer shared the cover with Conan the Barbarian on FM 184 from June of 1982. Inside, we find an article called Dragon Slayer: An Appreciation by Tim Moriarty. It included 6 pages and 11 photos. Dragon Slayer did not do well at the box office, as it was pitted against Raiders of the Lost Ark and Superman 2. So Disney was going to re-release it. Mr. Moriarty presents a critique to encourage fans to see the movie. It also included notes on the production. Here's a section about the newest state-of-the-art stop-motion animation. The stop-motion effects were realized at Industrial Light and Magic in California. Chris Wallace designed, sculpted, and operated the dragon for the intricate close-up work. But it was Phil Tippett, who previously brought a Tauntaun to life in The Empire Strikes Back, that took motion control techniques in filming stop-motion one step further for Dragon Slayer. In doing so, Tippett and the crew of ILM created among the most stunning stop-motion effects ever filmed. We had to carry the method further for the dragon, says Tippett. We felt that current audiences just wouldn't buy a dragon with the jerky look of old stop-motion. We wanted to try to do something that had never really been seen before, and that looked more alive than anything previously. Motion control is the system by which computers control motors that make movement in models. Tippett refined this process by placing the model of the dragon, whose armature was designed for at least 16 different movements of body, on a pedestal whose movement was, in turn, directed by 16 separate motors and axes. The dragon could then move 16 separate body parts simultaneously. Once programmed, the sequences were filmed in the conventional one frame at a time stop-motion process, but with one crucial difference. Tippett rolled the film while the dragon was in movement, rather than static. This movement caused a blurred image, just as any live-action shot has. The result was a dragon that walked with almost surreal fluidity. Ken Ralston of ILM used the same technique for the flying sequences, except that, as in the spaceships in Star Wars and other space epics, the dragon model was stationary. It is the camera which does the panning, tilting, and zooming to simulate flight. I loved Dragon Slayer when it came out. I saw it in my local box theater in Pittsburgh, but also was in LA on a trip and went to see a 70mm print in the Disney Theater on Hollywood Boulevard. That was a treat. That's all for this week's look at Famous Monsters of Filmland. We will have more next week. For MKR, this is Kenny saying adios.
Kenny, my man, you know, I haven't been coming in and commenting on the segments lately here on the show, partly because, you know, I wait till the last minute to put the show together, which I really need to stop doing. But, you know, I love Dragon Slayer. When I was a kid, this was a movie that I watched over and over and over again. I loved the heck out of it. When I was younger, I loved it because it had a cool dragon and I liked the story. When I got a little bit older, I started having some funny feelings about the lead female in that. But, you know, anyway, it's a great film. I really enjoy it. I listen to the music quite a bit as well, especially these days as I'm getting back into fantasy fiction and that sort of thing. I am going to be that guy, though. It's Chris Wallace, not Chris Wallace. And I only bring that up because he's a friend and there's a chance he's going to be on a future episode of Monster Kid Radio at some point. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for sending that segment in, man. Dragon Slayer is so cool. And I haven't watched it in a really, really long time. Is it on Disney Plus, I wonder, since it's technically a Disney film? Not that I have access to Disney Plus. So if any of you have, Disney Plus password, I'm just saying. Anyway, Dragon Slayer is awesome. Kenny, thank you for reminding me of a movie from my childhood that I really loved. I
have been witness to something of consequence to you.
To me?
There's a great task needing to be done.
No doubt you've heard of our trouble at home.
A dragon, fire and stench. It is evil. Pure and simple.
You want me to do battle with that?
Behold, for I am chosen, I shall die that many may live.
Twice each year, the king selects a new victim. Chosen by lot. Girls. Virgins.
Your king's made a pact with a monster.
But your children were dying.
Only a few. Does that sound cruel?
Blacksmith, have you ever forged a weapon?
An edge like no other on this earth.
Dragon Slayer. Coming from Paramount Pictures.
Horrors of Spider Island. 8 beautiful girls and 1 lone man struggling for survival, with death, sudden, violent, and horrible, lurking in the shadows. Horrors of Spider Island. Out of the night came a fate worse than death. A man's mind twisted, his brain poisoned, with an uncontrollable lust to kill. Horrors of Spider Island. A tale of terror that will leave you limp. So hideous and shocking, you won't believe your eyes. His hunger for victims was never satisfied. Prepare to be frightened out of your wits by the Horrors of Spider Island.
This is Count Vlad, but you may recognize me by my more familiar name, Count Dracula. And I'm here to offer you a friendly warning. Derek and his guests often get excited, and occasionally this results in revealing key plot points of the movies they're discussing. In your parlance, you might call these revelations spoilers. You know how the children of the night, monster kids, can get sometimes. So consider yourself warned. And don't come begging to me to kill them for their transgressions afterward. I have more pressing issues to take care of, like that pesky Van Helsing.
Who? Space alien. What? End of Earth. When? 27th day. I'm reading that from the press kit that was issued to movie theaters and drive-in movie theaters for the release of the 27th day, which is the movie we're talking about this week with... this guy that you might know, Scott Morris. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the 27-day-long podcast. This podcast will stretch over the next 27 days until the end of the Earth.
I did not sign up for that. We're going to have to get a lot more Patreon supporters to be able to afford the bandwidth for that guy. Wow. We've done the plan 9x9. We're talking about doing 5 minutes of monos. This is just the opposite of that, right? We just stretch this out.
We're going to stretch this out for 27 days.
One 27-day long podcast. Does anybody even really... Is that... Man, I don't even want to know. I'm just trying to imagine the computing power and how long it would take to render that and the space it would need. And
yeah,
oof.
your podcast storage, whoever you're with, be happy with a file that big.
Well, that's why I'm saying we need a lot more support to afford the bigger disk space. But I'm thinking about the hard drive space here just by itself. 27-day long. Wow. We're not doing that, but we are talking about the 27th day, which is something that I think, didn't we show this on the stream?
Is it in the public domain?
I don't remember if we showed it in the stream or not.
I didn't think it was in the public domain, so I don't think it's been on the stream.
I know I've played the trailer quite a few times.
You have played the trailer many times. In fact, you played it, I think, in the most recent stream.
That might be why I keep thinking about it. Yeah. So yeah, it's not been shown in the Monster Kid Movie Club, but we have shown the trailer quite a bit, which, you know, what the heck? We're going to listen to the audio for the trailer right now.
In just a few moments, these 5: American newspaperman, English bathing beauty, German scientist, Russian soldier, Chinese peasant girl, will be given the power to destroy every human being on Earth. What will they do? What will their governments force them to do? What would you do?
Each of the capsules has a diameter of lethal radiation, which is exactly 3,000 miles. There is then, in the combined capsules, more than enough power to wipe out all human life on your planet. People of Earth, I am an alien from outer space.
Don't say anything. I thought you'd never make it.
How long are we going to stay here, just hiding like hunted animals?
You don't think I like hiding, do you?
We've been here 10 days. We've managed to disagree on every one of them.
Actually, we've had all the disadvantages of marriage without any of the advantages.
Jonathan, stop.
But it's true.
It's time I went to bed.
Demand is hereby made for the immediate withdrawal of all American forces and civilians on land, sea, and air
to within the limits of continental United States on pain of total war.
Every human being alive will die unless science solves the riddle of the destruction capsules from outer space before the 27th day.
Answer me, Klaus. Where are they?
I've launched them.
Soon the world will be ours.
Yeah, the 27th day. It's a science fiction movie. No real traditional monsters to speak of. Came out, 1957?
Yes, 1957.
And I love this tagline from one of the posters. Mightiest to shocker the screen ever had the cuts to make. What does that even mean?
I don't know.
Guts, not cuts, guts. The guts to make. That makes more sense.
Yes.
I was reading that from Zombo's Closet, which is a website that has a lot of press kits and such on it. So
yeah, it's definitely not what you normally think about an alien invasion movie. I mean, there is one alien, but he's not really a monster or scary, but it's more of a cerebral, talky type movie.
Cerebral, talky.
Yes.
I like it. Let's see. It was, 1957 for sure. I just confirmed that. Directed by William Asher, who is a name that I kind of sort of know.
I know him more from television.
Yeah.
He's the man that came up with Bewitched.
Yeah.
Because he was married to Elizabeth Montgomery for a while.
He is credited as being the inventor, if not one. Well, some places say he's actually the inventor of the sitcom. I don't know if that's accurate, but he's very involved in television. Won an Emmy for an episode of Bewitched.
And in a roundabout way, I can thank him for WandaVision. Bewitched.
Okay. He was also behind a lot of the Beach Party movies, which...
Yes, he was.
You know what? I love those movies.
Oh, I do too.
I love them so much. They're totally outside of my normal... I don't know. If somebody were to meet me, if somebody were to listen to me talk about the movies that I love, hearing about Universal horror films, Hammer horror films, things like Monos or Plan 9, the Luchador movies, the Kaiju movies, I don't think any of that would come as a surprise. If I were to say, I really like Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello in the bikini movies, I don't know if I would get the same, oh yeah, sure, of course you do. Because it's really nothing like anything else.
I'm also a big fan of those, but for me, it makes a little more sense because you've got Annette and her Disney connections.
Exactly.
That I have. So I've always been a big fan of those movies.
You know, I discovered them a few years ago. They were showing on TCM, and I set the DVR to just record them all. And I watched them all like over the course of like 4 or 5 days. I got them all on the DVR, and yeah, the plots are very similar, and I love them. There's just something fun about them. I don't know if it's the surf thing. I don't know if it's the occasional cameo from somebody like Vincent Price. I don't know if it's the motorcycle gang that hangs out there. I love them.
We should cover them on, well, I don't know what podcast we could cover them on.
Right?
They don't really fit in MKR too much.
Yeah, I mean, there's the one with the Vincent Price cameo, and isn't Peter Lorre in one of them?
I believe he is.
So we might be able to stretch it. I mean, there's the girl in the invisible bikini, but that's not really part of the series. That's kind of a side from it. Not that it was a series to begin with, but, it's kind of, yeah. What are we talking about? Bikini films. You can tell where Derek's mind's at these days. Anyway.
Yeah, we're talking about director William Asher. Who directed The 27th Day.
He also directed Fireball 500, which is you know what? I like that movie too. But yeah, 27th Day, William Asher directed that movie. Oh, wow. Okay. What studio put this out? Oh, it was put out by Columbia Pictures. So, yes. I mean, no, it is not in the public domain. If it's a Columbia Pictures production or at least release. It feels a lot like... It feels a lot more science fiction than a lot of the science fiction offerings that were coming out at the time. In its truest sense. It's doing what science fiction can do so well, and that's asking the big, heavy questions, but by wrapping them, maybe even disguising them in the trappings of the genre. It's got a very Twilight Zone kind of feel, that sort of approach, very Serling-esque, I feel like.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree that it's a very Twilight Zone. I also get a kind of a Star Trek vibe in parts of it as well.
A little Star Trek-y, a little Outer Limits-like, yeah. Very, very, I don't want to say parable, but very like we're trying to get a message across. But no, kids, really, it's science fiction. Come watch it, And it succeeds on both levels for the most part.
True.
Apparently it's based on a novel, which I did not know until about 5 seconds ago.
It's based on a novel that was actually written like within 10 years of this film. And the guy that wrote the novel actually wrote the screenplay. So he was very involved in this as well.
John Mantley, who was an actor, writer, director, screenwriter, worked on Gunsmoke, which I find fascinating. Wow. Cool. Oh, and he was in the Air Force, so he's got a little bit of military background with him as well, which I suppose makes a little bit of sense considering what this movie does start to touch on.
True.
He was in the Royal Canadian Air Force, so. Interesting. Well, this is, it's such a fascinating film, and I want to know more about it. I want to read the novel. I bet the novel doesn't differ too much from the finished film if it was screenwritten by the same dude.
Probably not. I've not read it either, but I have a feeling it's pretty similar.
And in case you forget you're watching a science fiction movie, we've got one of the lead guys from War of the Worlds in here. So,
oh yes, Gene Barry playing the lead role, Jonathan Clark, who was Dr. Clayton Forrester, not from MST3K, in the 1953 classic War of the Worlds, which was on MKR, covered by you and my wife Tracy back in episodes 59 and 60.
Wow, it's been that long? And I know we also did a little bit where we went to go see it here locally, we being me and Chris McMillan, Dominique Lamsey, and David Heath. And we talked briefly about it then, too. I don't remember what episode that was in, but I can try to find it in the archives and make sure it's in the show notes. I didn't recognize him at first because of that mustache. The first time I saw this, I didn't realize that was him. And then, he goes and shaves. It's like, oh, okay.
The voice gives it away to me.
Yeah?
As soon as I heard the voice, I knew that it was the same guy from War of the Worlds. I don't know why it is, but that gave it away. And he's not the only War of the Worlds alumni in this film.
Well, I was going to say he's got an amazing voice, to go back to that real quick. And I was a little surprised that he wasn't like a radio reporter because of that voice. He's got such a great voice, as opposed to a newspaper man in the movie. Anyway, what's the other War of the Worlds connection there?
Paul Frees.
That's right. So speaking of radio voices.
Speaking of radio voices, yes. He plays a newscaster, Ward Mason, and he's uncredited in this film.
Of course, his name is Ward Mason. That's such an awesome name.
Yes.
I want to believe that there's some alternate reality where there's some pulp adventure series from the 50s and 60s, kind of like a pre-Batman kind of thing, but his alter ego, his human identity or secret identity is Ward Mason. I'm Ward Mason, defender of whatever. That's a great name.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that he is a Disney legend.
Yep.
Was named a Disney legend in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
He was the voice of Ludwig von Drake.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Disney characters. Professor Ludwig von Drake.
They haven't done much with him lately, have they?
No, they have not.
I like that guy.
One of my favorites is the Spectrum song that he sings.
Oh, okay.
And he's also the ghost host in Disney's Haunted Mansion and the auctioneer pirate in the original Pirates of the Caribbean attractions.
Yeah, he's done a lot of work with Disney. I mean, he didn't just do Ludwig von Drake, who, again, if I had to look at any of the ancillary, duck characters, he's my favorite.
I have a hard time between him and Uncle Scrooge.
I like Uncle Scrooge too, but I don't know if I was just too much. I was a nerd growing up. I liked science and figuring stuff out, and there's this duck dude who was smart, and he was my guy.
In my favorite Paul Frees voice in a non-Disney role, Boris Badenoff from the Rocky and Bullwinkle show.
Yeah. He did a lot of voice work, a lot of animation, but he was also an actor too, and it's always kind of a pleasant surprise to see him when he's in front of the camera and you actually see the face that goes with the name. I didn't notice it too much this time around, but I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. There's one movie, let me see if I can find it real quick. Oh, he did one of the voices in The Hobbit in the 70s. I didn't realize that.
Yep.
He did do the narration in The Milpitas Monster, which we have shown on the stream. Space Master X7. I like that movie a lot. I don't think I've talked about it here, but the first time I saw this movie and I saw Paul Frees, my thought was, he looks a lot like Nick Brown from the B-movie cast. Now, not so much in this film. But
no, not this film.
I just thought, dude, this dude looks like Nick. Oh, man. Anyway, Space Master X7, really good film. Came out the following year, 1958. I've not talked about it here on the show. Scott, have you seen it?
I have not seen that.
You want to talk about it sometime?
If I ever get a chance to see it.
All right, we'll make it happen. It's not in the public domain either, unfortunately, but, we'll figure it out. Anyway, so that's a sneak preview of things to come at some point.
Do you know, to bring it back to Monster World, do you know who else Paul Frees voiced?
I want to go to Monster World so bad. Tell me.
Boo Berry in the original Monster cereal commercials.
That makes sense. I could hear him doing that Peter Lorre-esque kind of voice. But yeah, he did a lot of work. Disney, J. Ward Productions, which is where the
Boris Badenoff. Yes.
A whole lot. So, he Burgermeister Meisterburger. That was him. That was him.
And as much as we're talking about him on the 27th day, you'd think he's a major role in this, but I think he's on the screen maybe 5 minutes.
And you maybe hear him a little bit longer, and that's about it.
That's about it. So,
yeah.
But Gene Barry as Jonathan Clark is one of the main characters. We mentioned him already.
Mm-hmm.
The other main character that we see the most is Valerie French.
You know anything about her?
Not much at all.
So I didn't know a lot about her either, and I'm going to go back to the press book. Now, I assume most listeners know, but and I don't know if they do this as much anymore for a lot of the movies because so much fits online or whatever. But back in the day, studios and distributors would send press books and materials to theaters and drive-ins to help promote the movie. Sometimes it was just a 4-page brochure that would show you what movie poster styles are available if you wanted to order a particular movie style, or a movie poster style, excuse me. So if you wanted like a lobby card versus a full one sheet or whatever, you could select which one you wanted. Sometimes it would have an order form for you to order and a 45 RPM record of a radio ad that you can maybe get your local radio station to play. Sometimes it would have a script that you could do your own recording. And then there would be these, for lack of a better term, mock newspaper articles that you could then clip out and submit to your local newspaper. The idea is that they would run it and then help promote the movie. And these were written by the studio's press department. So how true or accurate they were, who knows? It was all press, and Hollywood did what Hollywood does and still does. It's an imagination factory. So what I'm getting at, in the press book, there is an article titled Power to Destroy the World Given 5 in 27th Day, meaning there's 5 characters that are given the power or whatever. One of the pieces of this particular article, one of the subheadings, curbs the curves. And I'm going to read it to you. Curvaceous British beauty, Valerie French, loves above all to swim, but she doesn't recommend it to girls who want that, quote, hourglass figure. Valerie, who is currently starring with Gene Barry in Columbia Pictures' The 27th Day, found out that a full summer of swimming can play hob with a girl's figure. After a summer of swimming, Valerie had to trim down from a 40-27-39 to her magnificent 37-21-36. She carried the latter eyeful into filming on the 27th Day. Spectacular science fiction thriller based on John Mantley's novel. Okay, there is so much you could talk about with this movie when promoting the movie, but they focus on Valerie French's figure and why you shouldn't swim every day. What?
What? Yeah.
Trimmed down from 40-27-39 to her magnificent 37-21-36. 21, the second number is the waist, right?
It's the bust, waist, and
hips.
Thighs? Hips?
I think it's hips. I don't know. But come on.
And it's a shame because I think she's very good in this movie.
Oh, she's fantastic.
As an actress, I think she and Gene Barry have awesome chemistry together.
If it was handled by any other quote-unquote couple, I wouldn't necessarily believe the couple-ing of these two in this film. There are a few moments in the movie where if it was handled just a little less deftly, I would roll my eyes and be like, really? Of course, the white man and the white woman fall in love. Of course, But in this case, I bought it because of their chemistry and their interactions with each other. Plus, it's not like she's wearing a swimsuit or anything. You don't have to worry about whether or not she's got a 27 or 21 inch waist.
Yep. It doesn't matter.
She wears sweaters and what?
And in fact, when they're in their hiding place, she actually tells Jonathan to leave the room while she changes clothes to get ready for bed.
Right.
And we go with Jonathan. So they weren't really promoting her character as that type of person. It seems odd that they did that in the press kit.
So here's another clip. Here's another sub-column, I guess, or column. Quit British films because they lack real woman roles. One of the reasons lovely British star Valerie French quit London for Hollywood was to become a woman. On the screen, that is. There is no place for real women in British motion pictures, says Valerie, who stars with Gene Barry in Columbia Pictures, blah, blah, blah. So you've got the one article about how she had to slim down to be this woman, and then this other article about how she's a real woman. Like, come on.
I guess she wasn't right for Hammer Glamour? Is that what she's referring to?
Very much a woman in real life, the British beauty rebelled at the fate she saw in store for herself in English films. In British films, she says, either you have to be a tramp, a strumpet, a courtesan, a femme fatale, a lady of the evening, or the oversweet, too feminine darling of a girl or wife. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I didn't see her as any of those roles in this film at all.
Neither did I. Miss French is certainly not, quote unquote, like that in the 27th Day. It says. I love these old press kits, and I love reading this stuff. And I also love reading the ballyhoo, the suggestions that they have to promote these movies in your local market. And they have some suggestions if you're going to run it at the drive-in, the showmanship section of the press kit. They've got suggestions for running advertisements on radio and television, for the theater itself, reaching out to local astronomy clubs to have them get involved. One is getting the Civil Defense Force to show up. Like, I don't know if that's going to be a great idea. They do have, and I ought to print these up. I actually ought to put this on the website. You can print out a card that you can give out as a handout. If you print it out on light cardboard stock, it's good for one round-trip ticket to outer space on the 27th day. I'll print that up and put that on the website.
Now, see, I want some civil defense out there handing those cards out, except for it's Bert the Turtle.
Ah, there you go. There you go. Now that song's stuck in my head. There you go. But yeah, this stuff is just fascinating, man. You know, work with local distributors of the local science fiction magazines. I love that they assume, and maybe this is how it was, but apparently there were enough local science fiction magazines across the country to work with.
Well, now I want to read some of these local science fiction magazines.
Yeah. Yeah, they're talking about bringing the Civil Defense Forces. For the drive-in, if you've got the number 27 on your license plate, you get a free show.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, this is some really cool stuff, man. Really cool stuff. They recommend having kids come out dressed up as a spaceman and putting him on parade for a prize or whatever. Yeah, it's just neat. Really neat stuff. And a lot of the artwork that will eventually make its way and has made its way onto various t-shirts and all that at the Monster Kid Radio T Public Shop comes from a lot of these press kits. Now, the artwork for this movie's cover, or this episode's cover, is from a lobby card, but yeah, this stuff is great.
Well, should we look at some of the other actors that are in the film?
Yeah, I kind of got sidetracked there with the curvaceous Valerie French not being skinny enough.
How about Arnold Moss?
He's got such a wonderful voice as well, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Did you recognize him from anything?
Star Trek, baby. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Governor Kodos.
Yeah.
Also known as Kodos the Executioner.
Yep. Yep. Oh, yeah. Star Trek, man. Yeah.
Season 1, Episode 12 of the original series, The Conscience of the King.
Which holds a special place in my heart because Jeff Polier does the unofficial, man, Jeff, I'm sorry, I'm going to get it wrong. It's TUDAC is the abbreviation or the acronym, where he does, he writes scripts based on different genre properties and then invites people to come to a cold reading that he then records and puts out as a podcast. Nobody knows ahead of time what role they're going to get. You get the script maybe like the day before, if not later. Mm-hmm. So you show up, he draws names, he assigns roles, and you read it. And I got to play Kirk on a reading of The Conscience of the King. So
that sounds like such a fun time. My schedule's never synced up with when he's doing those that I'm able to do it. But I think that would be so much fun just to blindly not know who you're going to play or he kind of tells you on his website what show they're going to do, but you don't have the script.
Yeah. I've done Kirk on one and I played young Spock in an adaptation of the animated Star Trek episode where it's young Spock doing stuff. So that was fun too.
But back to Arnold Moss, I think he's great in this film. He's not in it very much, but he's so just kind of the stoic alien that just is telling you like it is, telling you everything, but he's not, like your typical alien where he's going to attack you or anything. He's just laying the whole thing out for you.
He feels more of like the Day the Earth Stood Still style alien.
Yes.
Versus, I don't know, any of the others, like Earth versus the Flying Saucer or whatever. Obviously what he's giving everybody is deadly and it could end up poorly, but he's not going to do it. He's just kind of, here's the deal, gang. Listen to my awesome voice as I tell you what's going on. Because I love his voice. His voice is so great.
Yep. We're not going to do anything, but we fully expect you will.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's some other great characters in here too, and great actors and performers. But to me, those are the three that really stood out. Moss, French, and Barry. And I'm glad you brought all three of them up.
There is one other one that I wanted to mention.
Okay.
Theodore Marcus.
Okay.
He is Colonel Gregor. They never say exactly what country, but the one from behind the Iron Curtain in this film.
They all have vaguely Russian accents, but
yes.
not quite. Yeah.
But they never call them out as Russian. Anyway, you have the Soviet general secretary, and you have the private who's also informed by the alien, given these devices. And there's one scene where he charges Theodore Marcus with making their private talk. You have to find out what the alien told him, basically.
Okay. He's
also a Star Trek alum.
While you were saying that, I was looking him up, and oh my goodness, he's the guy in Cat's Paw.
Yep. Season 2, Episode 1, Cat's Paw. He was Korob in that one.
Yeah, Cat's Paw, the only episode that was really technically a Halloween episode for original Star Trek. Yeah, that's great.
And then, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Ralph Clanton, who was Mr. Ingram in this film. He was helping the German scientists when he was in the hospital and stuff. He was in Disney's 1961 The Absent-Minded Professor.
Oh, okay.
So I had to mention him, too.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So it's a science fiction movie, if you haven't picked that up. I mean, we've said it repeatedly, and it's not your traditional monster on the loose, aliens are coming, alien invasion. It's a lot more cerebral than that, and it doesn't really pull a lot of punches. There's a real sense of threat and doom, and this could really go south quickly, or sideways quickly on this. In one thing that I wish was a little different, and we'll talk about that, and there's a few things that we wish played out maybe a little differently, or maybe, not exactly what we were given on screen is what we think really happened, that sort of thing. We'll talk about all that. We'll talk about the movie itself. But Scott, you want to do a round of the Classic Five first?
Sure.
The Classic Five!
All right, so for listeners who are just now joining us, the Classic Five is a game that we've been playing for years here on the show. We play it every Saturday at the Monster Kid Movie Club movie stream over at twitch.tv/MonsterKidRadio. It is a literal deck of cards that I love to shuffle right next to the microphone, and I think that's the first time I pulled it off without actually hitting the microphone. No editing of that, folks. All right, each one of these cards says this or that, which movie do you prefer style question on them. There are no wrong answers. It's just a way to get Monster Kids talking about their favorite topic, monster movies. Scott, are you ready to play a round of the Classic Five?
I am ready, sir.
All right, here we go. Some old cards that I'm sure people have heard repeatedly, and maybe a few new questions thrown in here and there. Let's start with a new question. Who is your favorite, or what is your favorite 1950s science fiction movie alien?
Marsha Brady.
Okay, we're not at the stream. Although, I want somebody to write me some fan fiction where one of the members of the Brady Bunch is, in fact, an alien from outer space.
That would be awesome.
That would be amazing.
A 70s alien.
And I want to see the opening screen with the tic-tac-toe boxes with the blue backgrounds with all their faces. And at the very end of the opening credit sequence, Marsha just turns into a real alien form. And then it goes to black. Just All right. What do you got for me?
Could you repeat the question? I forget exactly what the question was.
1950 science fiction alien. Who's your favorite?
The ones I like, and I don't know the exact year, but I like the Mars Attacks aliens from Topps cards. Are those from the 50s?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe see. This is one I just kind of made up off the top of my head. So you know what? We'll say that works. Why not? And maybe I'll just tweak the question when we put it out. Those aliens are awesome.
Now I'm looking.
Mars Attacks 62.
62. So it's not quite 50s.
That's all right. It counts.
But I've always loved that card set.
Yeah, it's a great card set. See, I'm surprised. I would have thought you would have went Metaluna Mutant.
I like that one quite a bit. But that was the first thing that popped into my mind was the Topps cards.
Those cards are awesome. I haven't watched the movie in forever, but I remember enjoying myself the first time I saw the Mars Attacks movie by Burton, too.
Yeah, the movie's good, but it doesn't quite capture the irreverence of the cards, I think.
Yeah. Good point. The Burton film's very irreverent. Right on. I like it. All right. So the Topps cards, Mars Attacks. I want to know more about that. I want to do an episode on that.
That would be
Figure
awesome.
out where that came from. Yeah.
I have the, they put out a book a few years ago that has reprints of all the cards. I have that book.
Yeah, I want to learn more about them now. Huh. All right. Anyway. How are you on your kaiju?
Not too bad, but not great.
What kaiju that never had a film of its own do you wish had a standalone movie?
Ooh. A standalone movie.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a good question.
So Rodan had a standalone, Mothra had a standalone, and obviously Godzilla. But I think once you get past that, they all start appearing in each other's films. So
yeah, I'm thinking King Ghidorah.
Yeah.
Or Mechagodzilla.
Ooh, a Mechagodzilla film by itself would be kind of cool.
Those two are the ones that I'm thinking that I will go with.
I like it.
And
now, King Ghidorah is just, awesome anyway. But Mechagodzilla, man. Been in an Mechagodzilla mood lately. For me, I want King Caesar or King Caesar. I don't know what it is about that goofy dog-looking thing, but I love him. I love him. Jet Jaguar already had his own movie, but, I want more Jet Jaguar. But King Caesar, 1974's film, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. I say he's a dog-looking thing, but he's really kind of based on a Japanese sculpture idol monster thing. But to me, he looks like a dog with big flappy ears.
Now I want to see a killer shrew kaiju-sized.
Oh, God. Wow.
And honestly, I want to see it in the style that you were showing off on the stream from that artist, which I'm blanking on his name at the moment.
Oh, for my upcoming book, Monsters from the Public Domain.
Yes.
Yeah. Your guide to public domain monsters and their use in Dungeons and Dragons campaigns. You know what? Stay tuned, because at the end of this episode, I'm going to mention that, because there's still a few days left on the Kickstarter and we've got some new stretch goals in mind. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
Yeah, the artwork is amazing.
The artwork's awesome. All right, card number 3. What classic monster would make a good superhero?
Gamera.
Wow. Okay. We're not just, you see, when I ask that, I go to things like, well, Invisible Man be kind of cool, that sort of thing. No, you're like, not. Giant turtle.
Giant turtle. I like turtles.
If this was a video podcast, I'd cut to that clip right now. I may still just pull the audio from it.
Back here live at the Waterfront Village with my friend, the zombie, Jonathan. You're looking good. Jonathan just got an awesome face paint job. What do you think?
I like turtles.
All right. You're great, zombie. And good times here at the Waterfront Village, open for the next 11 days.
Now, the Invisible Man, he kind of is playing that series that you played at the Astronomy Club. He was almost a superhero there.
Yeah, and there's an Invisible Agent as well, where he goes, fights the Nazis. Wow. Okay, then. All right, card number 4. Who else could have or should have played a mad scientist?
Ooh. Blanking on his name. It was an Airplane.
The lead guy?
Not the lead guy.
The guy who does origami in the control tower?
No. Guy played the doctor.
Not Nielsen. Not Leslie Nielsen.
Nielsen.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Because he was good in Forbidden Planet.
He could do serious.
Yes.
It's just not what he became known for in the second half of his career.
I would like to have seen him try it, or if you're going to do a spoof movie of mad scientists, I think he would have been really good. Him or Mel Brooks would have been really good as a mad scientist.
You know, I'm trying to imagine Mel Brooks as a mad scientist, and I can't get away from Gene Wilder from Young Frankenstein and just seeing Brooks doing what Wilder did.
That's why I didn't mention that specifically, because he wasn't the mad scientist there. It was Gene Wilder, who is amazing as a mad scientist.
Huh.
In a spoof role, I think either one of them could have been really good.
All right.
But if you want a serious answer...
No, it's fine. You take it any way you want, man.
Well, if you want a serious answer, and I'm going to tie it back to the 27th day, and it'd be Arnold Moss.
Oh, he'd be great.
He would be an amazing mad scientist.
I could see him turning on the creep, the villainy. Huh? Oh, wow. That'd be awesome. We got one more question, right?
I believe so.
I'm just going to grab this one randomly. Favorite Mummy movie?
I have to go with the original, the first one.
Death, eternal punishment for anyone who opens this casket.
The mummy. Is it dead or alive? Human or inhuman? You'll know. You'll see. You'll feel the awful, creeping, crawling terror that stands your hair on end and brings a scream to your lips. There's nothing on earth like the mummy.
You will not remember what I show you now, and yet I shall awaken memories of love and crime and death.
Now I know his horrible plan. He is going to kill her and make her a living mummy like himself.
I would either go with the first Universal Mummy movie or the first Hammer Mummy movie. They're both neck and neck to me.
The Mummy. Fear will freeze you when you face it. The Mummy. Torn from the darkest tomb of the pharaohs, it rises from the quiet dust of centuries to wreak a strange vengeance against mankind. The Mummy. It tears steel bars like paper. It snaps men's spines like matchsticks. It walks through bullets like a ghost. The Mummy. It sees without eyes. It lives without breath. Yet its desires are strangely, madly human. The motion picture screen's most shocking experience in suspense. In chilling Technicolor. The Mummy.
I feel like you get more hot mummy action in Hammer's Mummy. That sounded so bad.
Well, it definitely has the best poster.
Yes, it does. and the best retroactively fixing the script to match the poster by a cast member on set while shooting. Yeah. The story being that if you watch the movie, you'll see at one point Cushing's character, it's not a spear, it's like a curtain rod or something, isn't it?
I believe so. That
he impales Christopher Lee's mummy with, and that was not in the original script. Cushing wanted to do that. My understanding is that Cushing wanted that to be done in the film because the movie poster has a shaft of light shooting through the mummy's chest, and it's like, well, where'd the hole come from? I'll put it there.
No, that poster's amazing.
Oh, it's awesome.
The Classic Five!
Well, that was the Classic Five. I know we didn't do it at the beginning, and I didn't want to skip it. Let's get back to the 27th day.
Well, should we go into kind of what we do see on screen?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I want to do a beat-by-beat breakdown. The setup's really simple.
Oh, yeah.
But deceivingly deep as well.
It starts off, we're seeing just one of our main characters, and that's Eve Wingate, Valerie French's character. She's kind of playing on a beach in England with her boyfriend, and all of a sudden there's a dark shadow looming over her and says, "Eve Wingate, I need you to come with me."
And I like that because it's a dark shadow, and then it goes to a flash of light as well.
Yep.
So it's like this weird kind of flash thing happening. It's great, but it's a simple thing. It's a simple, subtle trick that works really well.
And we end up seeing that for some other characters. We get a newsman from Los Angeles, where the Dark Shadow appears there and says his name, and he has to leave. We get a Russian private soldier is visited. We get a woman from a small Chinese village. It's in the middle of a war situation. And then we get a German scientist who's on his way to America for a conference. And the alien, the shadow visits him. We find out later it's the alien, and tells him to come with him. Actually says, your trip to America will be delayed.
One of the movie posters that you could get has all 5 of them on the poster, and they're described as German scientist, American newspaperman, Russian soldier, Chinese peasant girl, and English bathing beauty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very stereotypical descriptions of all of them, but I guess it does work.
Now, the alien is speaking in English to everybody because, I mean, it's American film, English-made film. We do learn later that everybody's hearing their alien speak in their own native language.
Yes.
So the Russians hearing Russian and so on.
And we follow the 5 of them on a alien ship who is leaving Earth. It's been a little while since I saw this, and I didn't remember them actually going into space, and my wife is watching it, and at one point the alien tells them, they don't believe that they're in space, and tells them to look for themselves, and they go to the center of the room and they look down, and Tracy's like, they stole that from Mission to Mars from Disney, because that's pretty much the attraction, is you're sitting around in a big circle theater, and there's a big screen on the floor, and you look down there, it looks like the Earth is going away. Look, you're actually leaving the planet.
So wait, this stole that from Disney? The other way around. But hey, if it works, if the trick works, use it,
Exactly. But the alien comes, he introduces himself, just call me the alien. We never get any kind of official name or anything for him. And he's from another universe. Did you catch that he says, I'm from another universe? Not another system or anything?
I did catch that too. All right.
But he basically says that the sun that supports his planet is getting ready to go nova. Not supernova, just nova. And they don't have much time. They only have 35 days or something like that left. And they need to find another planet to relocate to. But they're not the type of people that will conquer another world and kill everybody. Plus, they said, if we attack another planet, we're going to destroy a lot of its structures and resources and everything, and we don't want to do that. So we're going to put the 5 of you in charge. We're going to give each one of you a device that will basically kill all humans. It won't affect any buildings. It won't affect any resources or animals or anything. And we basically fully expect you guys to use these because that's what we expect from people of Earth. And then you guys will destroy each other and we'll just kind of move in on the empty planet.
Right. I mean, they're like, well, you're just a few seconds away from discovering solaranite, and then, you'll end up...
You stupid minds. It's a similar type thing, but a lot more highbrow than Plan 9, I think.
There's a double feature for you.
Yeah, there you go. 27th Day and Plan 9.
Wow.
Each one of them gets this little packet of capsules, and each one is specifically wired into the thoughts of the person they give it to. They're the only ones that can open the packets and get the capsules out. Once the capsules are out, anybody can activate them. You give a longitude and a latitude, and it would kill all humans within a 300-mile radius of that longitude and latitude. So if all of the devices are used, it will completely annihilate the Earth, all the humans.
Which, I mean, it gives us an opportunity. It turns into a really cool thought experiment. You know, what would you do if whatever?
Yep.
But it's also a very passive-aggressive way to conquer a planet. You know? Like, well, we don't want to do it, but here's you get a choice, wink, wink.
It's almost like our prime directive won't allow us to kill you, but we believe you're going to kill yourselves, so we're just going to accelerate the process.
Right. Which, I mean, once you accept that setup, it really does turn into a really interesting kind of think piece. You know, what would you do? What do the characters do? And there are going to be some minor spoilers in here, and I was actually a little disappointed that the quote-unquote Chinese peasant girl took herself out of the equation pretty early.
Yeah, there's the one thing that I forgot to mention. The alien tells them if they die, if one of those 5 people die before the capsules are used, their capsules will become inert, won't do anything. And they're sent back to basically the point where they left with the capsules, and immediately the Chinese...
Yeah, so right before she was taken... Didn't we see her? We assume it's her husband or her spouse or her family member killed in front of her.
Yeah, someone from her family that you see soldiers coming into her house and they pull out. It was either her brother, husband, father, something. You don't really know. And this guy is shot right in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
So she's already distraught from that. And she's sent back to her house, which is kind of torn up quite a bit because it's in the middle of war. And you see her go to an altar in her house, and she places the capsules on that, and then you see her pull out a knife and
she kills herself.
Exactly, and you see then the capsules kind of. Turned to what looks like they kind of turned to stone.
Yeah. And then they start to crumble a little bit.
Yep.
And I mean, that's one choice, and it's definitely a hard-hitting choice. But I also feel like it kind of robbed us of the opportunity to see her ongoing moral struggle with, well, I just had a family member get killed in front of me. This occupying military forces here. But if I do this, you know, I think that would have been another layer of exploration. But, you know, I get it.
I think it also opens up a plot hole that later in the movie, the way that this movie ends, without those capsules, I don't know how it actually worked. But we'll get to that when we get to the end of the movie.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And not that I'm about remaking movies or anything like that, but if this movie were to be remade, I would want to see it done like maybe a 2-part TV miniseries, I guess, or 2-part movie event, and don't have the quote unquote peasant girl kill herself right away, and kind of explore that a little bit more too. But that's, I don't know, maybe the novel does include that, because you can do more with a novel. Who knows?
Well, you've also got Eve Wingate. She gets back to being there on the beach off of the coast, on the coast of England, and immediately she throws her capsules into the sea.
Right. So they're gone, unless somebody's going to find them. And that, I mean, if you're going to hide it somewhere so that nobody can find them again, I suppose that's as good a place as any, right?
Yes and no, because her boyfriend at the time sees it happening. And because there's a radio report later in the movie where he obviously told authorities that she threw it into the ocean, but a person can't throw it miles into the ocean. So I would think you'd be able to find it relatively easy.
Well, oceans work differently over in England, Scott.
I
didn't know if you knew that. They just kind of come to a stop and then they drop 90 degrees. I don't know.
But I mean, yeah, they're not going to.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
I guess the tide could have taken it farther out to sea, but there's a chance that it just got lodged in some rocks there because it didn't look like a perfect place to go swimming.
Get out there with a metal detector and go to work.
And I would think that the governments would have spent no expense to try to get her capsules back.
So that's what would have happened in the sequel, the 27th day part, the 28th day.
That's the Sandra Bullock movie, isn't it?
Oh. Wow. Okay. Anyway, well, while they're all up in the flying saucer, she's the only one that thinks to ask, "Hey, what's your name?" of the other English-speaking person here before they get sent back down to Earth. So she's able to look him up.
He tells her that he's a newspaper reporter in Los Angeles.
So once, they get back down to Earth and they're doing their thing, she's able to look him up, and that's how those two come together. And they go on the lam. They're hiding from the authorities.
She makes plans to fly from England to Los Angeles. And we see the other characters just kind of going back to their normal existence. We don't see too much else.
Right.
While Eve Wingate is on her flight to LA, the alien shows up once again.
Yeah, the alien outs them.
He outs all 5 of them. He commandeers all communications across the planet. TV, newspaper, everything. Or not newspaper, radio and everything.
Right.
And broadcasts live, outs all 5 people, tells them that the whole fate of the planet is in their hands now. And of course, Jonathan Clark sees this. He's at a bar having lunch and sees it on the news, and he kind of slips out before the alien actually names the names and starts going on the lam. He goes to the airport to pick up Eve Wingate, and they immediately go into hiding. And I do like where they're hiding. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's a really cool, way to do it. It's not, so if I was hiding from the government, I don't know if I would have hidden there. I don't know if I would have fought either. You want to tell them where they hid?
They hid at a horse racetrack.
Yeah.
And at the time, it wasn't in season, so there was just one guy there as a guard, kind of roaming around. And I'm thinking to myself, well, first off, how would he have known that this place was out of season? But he does mention that he used to be a sports writer, and he covered this track all the time, so he knew about this place and everything. So he shows up there, and he and Eve find what looks like a little small apartment or break room or something where the jockeys would have maybe spent some time, and they kind of commandeer it. And their plan is to hang out there for the 27 days. Cause I don't think we mentioned that where the title of the movie comes from. All of the capsules, if they're not used, will become inert in 27 days because the aliens won't have time to take over our planet at that point. So they expect us to destroy ourselves in 27 days. So their idea was, we'll just hide out for 27 days and nobody will ever find us. And then but their flaw in their plan is assuming that the other people that got the capsules are also hiding.
Right.
Which unfortunately they're not.
Well, yeah, the one Russian soldier, once he's outed, once his name becomes known, his superior officers, the Soviet general, whatever, they bring him, they basically take him into custody. It's not a, hey, you want to help us out? It's why didn't you tell us about this when this first happened 3 days ago? And there's an interrogation and the whole bit.
The Russian leadership, they don't know exactly what the private knows, so they want to know, like, you tell us what you were told. And they do get the packet with the 3 capsules in it, but of course, no force on Earth can open them, is what they're told. No physical force. I like the German scientist says later, no physical force on Earth can open them.
I felt really bad. I think of everybody here. I felt, obviously outside of the person who ended up killing herself, I felt really bad for the Russian soldier.
Oh, I did too.
I felt like he was really struggling with what was right for the planet versus what was right for his country. And he does I don't know who the actor was off the top of my head, but he does a really good job performance-wise without speaking English, when he's in tears trying not to talk about what's happening. And it's moving, man.
I think he was trying to go into hiding because there is one quick scene where he's being chased by other soldiers and captured. I think he had the same idea that Jonathan Clark and Eve Wingate had, and he was going to try to hide for the 27 days. But he didn't get away in time.
Yeah. He was really good. Really good. I really liked his performance.
I did too.
In this.
And then the fourth person who's still around is the German scientist who was coming to the U.S. and just happens to be coming to the West Coast, which is convenient for everybody. But he gets hit by a car. Once find out that everybody's looking for him, he tries to cross the street, gets hit by a car, and of course he has a concussion, I think, because he doesn't know what's going on there for a little bit, and he's put in guarded custody, and the U.S. government takes his capsules, and they're trying to do experiments on them to try to figure out, just like the Russians are trying to work on their privates capsules and try to figure out how to open it. And the German scientist, eventually he does come around, and he tells the authorities that there is no force on Earth that can open these.
I did just go look him up real quick. I'm going to mispronounce it. I don't know what his background is. Azmat Janti? Azemat is his first name. Janti is his last name. He played the Russian soldier Ivan Godovsky, and this is his first film role. He did one episode of a TV show before this. He did very little work after this as well. Did a few TV things here and there, and that's it. But yeah, he's just so good.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's not much in his IMDb page. It didn't even say where he was born.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he is very good. I think most of the cast in this is very good.
Oh, I'm very happy with the cast in this. Very happy. I like the cast a lot. A whole lot. I didn't have any issues with anybody. I think Valerie French is a lot more than her skinny waist in this. I think Gene Barry. When it comes to some of these leading men from these genre pictures of this era, and I'm going to say it, I'm so sorry. I love John Agar, but sometimes it's real easy to just say, hey, that's John Agar, as opposed to, hey, that's Cleve from Revenge of the Creature or whatever from this person. It's John Agar because he's just so much John Agar, Gene Barry has the potential to do that, but he plays such a unique character in this that I thought War of the Worlds when I first saw him, but after that, I was done. I didn't need him anymore. I knew him as Jonathan Clark in this movie. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I lose the actor role. I lose him as a role. I don't see him as Dr. Forrester anymore very quickly. Yeah, I could have easily thought him as Dr. Forrester all the way through, and I quickly outgrew that or forgot about that.
It'd be even a harder sell for you because of your background with MST3K to be like, yeah, that's Dr. Clayton Forrester. Of course it's not, But yeah, no, he's really good.
Yep.
So good in this. Yeah, the entire cast is just phenomenal. That's another reason why I felt a little robbed by, the Chinese woman killing herself. I was like, I wonder if she's just as good as everybody else. And boy, her story would have been interesting. But anyway, eventually he does break and tell his superiors what it's about. And I think he's tricked. I mean, he's being interrogated. He's being loaded up with drugs. The whole bit, and his superior officer kind of, well, your mother wants you to be like your father and do good for the country. Your father died for the cause, and all this other stuff, and really lays it on thick and finally gets it out of him. But he still can't do anything with it. Still can't open it because it's keyed to the Russian officers' brainwaves or whatever. Right. And while that story is happening, we eventually get our German scientists, our English bathing beauty, and our newspaper man together. I just did air quotes for bathing beauty. Their stories eventually do kind of converge.
And they realize we have no proof of what the alien is saying is really going to happen.
Oh, man, this is rough.
So they have to test one of these to find out, will it really kill people? So there's one guy there, an admiral in the Navy, saying, well, there is off the Pacific coast, there's an area of over 300 miles of just ocean, and we could give it those numbers. But the problem is we'll have to have a test subject in there to find out whether they'll be killed or not.
Oh, my goodness. This is bad. And then we get like a lot of Cold War stuff going on, who's going to use what first, and are they going to try to figure out how to use it against each other? And well, we can't use it because if we do, then they will. And this is this race to the 27th day, trying to figure out how they're going to not kill each other,
right? Because
somebody, and it's going to be those evil Russians, are going to use it against the rest of the world. So what are you going to do?
it makes you really understand, the aliens were right. They knew if they gave us fire, we were going to burn ourselves, basically.
Yep.
And they were right. But then, of course, you got the German scientist. The whole time he's like, there's something I'm missing. There's something I think I should know about these.
Mm-hmm.
But he can't quite put his finger on it.
Yeah, there's something he's missing. I don't want to say what that is, but there is something that he's missing here. He thinks he figures it out, and I felt like that was kind of rushed through a little bit, just to kind of understand what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I got to read the novel for that or something. I don't know.
There you go. The next question I have, and it's how much farther spoiler-wise should we go?
Before we started recording, you asked about that. I think it's something that we should talk about. So yeah, we're spoiling a moment here.
The German scientist, he figures out that these capsules, depending on how you use them, they can actually be used for good. And this is a part that I personally kind of have an issue with, the way this movie ends. Because it's been so good up until this point. You got the German scientist, and he's locked in a room. He's figured out how to use them for good. And everybody else is trying to get into the room because they hear him reading off coordinates. So they think he is launching the capsules against Russia before they can attack us. At the same time, we are flashing back to the Russians. They have their capsules open. They broke their private. The head of the Russian guy is getting ready to read the coordinates for the U.S. And their private, he finally tries to take the guy out, push him off the balcony. The capsules, they fall out the balcony down to the ground below. And he goes running downstairs to get them. At the same time, our German scientist finishes off reading everything, and we go back to the Russian, and they start hearing this high-pitched noise. And he kind of keels down, and just as he gets to the capsules, you see him die. And it turns out what the German scientist did killed everybody who was against freedom or against unity, all the bad people, because now that everybody that's against unity on the planet has been destroyed, everybody who remains, which just happens to be, all of our good guys, that everybody is now together and friendly all over the world. And they decide that they're going to make an offer to the aliens to have them come and live in peace with us. So we have scenes where they're at the UN and they've been trying to send messages to everybody, and the German professor is saying, they're sending out on all radio signals and everything into space. And at the very end, we have the alien come back on and agrees to Earth's invitation and that they are on their way. And that's where the movie ends.
It's kind of a flat ending for me.
Very much so.
Meh. Yeah.
I enjoy this movie up until, the point where the German scientist launches the capsules is where the movie starts to fall apart with me.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this after I watched it again, and I'm wondering now, it's never said, so I don't know, I have nothing really to base this on or anything, but what if what the aliens told us at the beginning was a lie? What if they really weren't dying? But this was their way to test civilizations, whether are they good or bad, and whether we could coexist with them, basically join their, for lack of a better term, federation. If we weren't good people, they're not going to waste their time with us.
Right.
But if they could figure this out and realize that they could be a good people, maybe they're worthy of our friendship. So I'm wondering if the whole thing was a test.
I think it could certainly be read that way, for sure.
And once I think of it that way, I like the ending better. But obviously they don't say that. I mean, I guess you could have had there at the very end when the alien agrees, maybe you could have another scene where he shows up and explains exactly what happened.
Yeah, we never quite get a a satisfactory ending. And maybe that's the most science fiction way of ending it anyway, right? We don't get everything tied up in a neat bow, but the ending does kind of fall flat. And I remember when I watched this the first time, we go through that. We're at the UN. Is it the UN? We're at the UN, and we're going to send a signal out to the aliens, and the entire world has agreed to turn off all of their TVs and radio stations, which I didn't find believable either. But the entire world has agreed to turn everything off so that the aliens can get through to us. We ask if they want to come stay with us because now there's a lot of room here because of all the bad people being killed off. The aliens say yes. The end. I wanted more. I wanted like a denouement. I wanted something, you know.
Oh, I agree. It just seems to be a hollow ending to what it was building. But then again, I don't. Unless we went with what I thought, and you have the aliens actually show up and say this whole thing, we were testing you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how else you could end it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know how you would have done it either. No idea. But it doesn't sour the movie for me. I think there is so much to think about, so much to enjoy in this film that I think my biggest disappointment is that it just didn't keep going. I want a little bit more. And that to me doesn't quote unquote ruin a movie. That just makes me love it even more because I want to spend more time there.
Yeah, it's a relatively short movie. It's like less than 80 minutes long.
Yeah, it's really short. It runs, 75 minutes. So hour 15.
And it's definitely worth watching, even though the ending is kind of sour. The performances here are really good. I did read some other people what their thoughts were, and a lot of people complain about its lack of budget or money is showing because we talked about the scene at the UN, and they've obviously got stock footage of a UN assembly together.
Sure.
And then you've got our leads, what looks like they're in front of them talking. And when you see them on screen, it's pretty clear picture, but then the stock footage is kind of grainy and old. And so they didn't spend the time to try to make those pictures look the same, like they're in the same place. It's obvious they're not together. But there's things like that where its seams are showing. But I think it was a low budget film to begin with. And what they did, I think it's really well done.
Yeah, there's a few things that are either stock footage or footage that would in the movie that would turn up in other things as stock footage, you know.
Well, did you recognize where the exterior shots of the spaceship came from?
I did. I had, and that's exactly what I was going to say. And then you asked me, and it just went out of my brain.
Earth versus the flying saucers.
Yes, that's it. I even referenced that earlier.
Another movie you and I talked about here on MK.
Exactly, right? Way back in the day, at the very beginning. So look in the archives for that, or stay tuned because in early 2022, Monster Kid Radio is going to be releasing some books that are transcripts of some of the earlier episodes, including that one. So stay tuned for that.
Cool.
Which Scott gave me permission to do years ago, and then I sat on it and decided to go ahead. Yeah, we'll do that next year. So
okay.
Anyway, it'll be called the Monster Kid Conversations.
But yeah, they use some stock footage, some existing scenes of the flying saucer flying from that. So we get a little Harryhausen in here.
Yeah, which, you know, I'll always take a little Harryhausen. Overall, I dug the movie. How did you end up watching it? Do you have it on disc, or how'd you do it?
I think I have it on a disc that I got a long time ago, and then I've ripped it and had it on my personal Plex.
So it has been released on DVD in the past. It's also available on DVD in Italy, interesting, as part of the Art House Sci-Fi collection. And yeah, I think that's a good way to describe this. Art House Sci-Fi. I like that.
I like that too.
But yeah, it's part of the Sony like on-demand archive, whatever collection they call it, for $20.
I think that's how I bought it.
It's probably bare bones.
It is very bare bones. I think it has maybe the trailer on it. Maybe. I can't remember.
When DVDs, when they would come out, when they first came out, one of the special features was interactive menu.
Yes.
Remember that? Okay. Yeah, this is a bare bones release. But you know what? I'd pay $20 for this, and I'd feel okay with that. I felt like I got my money's worth and then some. I like it that much.
Yeah, I would like to see maybe a Blu-ray where it's remastered.
You know, it didn't look bad to begin with.
True.
I think some of the stock footage could be tweaked a little bit.
That's why I think I think it could look really good remastered, but it's not like it's, a lot of special effects or anything in this movie. So
not at all.
But I'd also like to see more of Gene Barry and Valerie French together because, like I said earlier, I think the chemistry between those two is really, really good.
Yeah.
I could have seen them easily playing a married couple in another movie. I do like the one part where they've been together for a few days, and Jonathan makes the comment that they have all of the downfalls of a marriage without all the benefits.
In under normal circumstances, in any other movie, I'd be like, oh God, but it worked. And there's another moment where they're talking and somebody says something about marriage and she's like, what did you say? He's like, that's, Well, and even some of the other non-marriage sexy time talk, when they first get in the cab together and they're driving and they don't want to be overheard by the cab driver, he pulls out a radio and turns it on, and she asks, or she wants to know what's on the radio. It's rock and roll. It's music almost. And it's like, that's great. Their banter back and forth was awesome.
Yep. I loved every moment the two of them were on the screen together.
Yeah, I want to see more. Unfortunately, they didn't do any other work together. Right. I would like to see more with Valerie French. I think she more than capable. And, I'm looking at her filmography right now. Looks like a lot of TV, which means chances are it's not something I'll be able to get my hands on, but I would love to see her in more.
Yeah, me too. I definitely would.
Really good. Oh, she was in a Western with Randolph Scott?
Randolph Scott.
That's why I said it.
No, I've never seen Blazing Saddles. Why do you ask?
Oh, that's awesome. She was in another Western with Sean Connery.
Sean Connery? That doesn't work.
No, not nearly as much. She was in Shalako with Sean Connery and Bridget Bardot. I've never seen it. Honor Blackman's in that. Well, there's another reason to see it.
Yeah.
Oh, and Woody Strode. Nice. The Randolph Scott film she was in. Randolph Scott was called Decision at Sundown, which, again, never seen. I don't think I've seen anything with her in it, to be honest.
I'm looking at her filmography myself, and I got really excited for a second because I saw The Addams Chronicles, and I read it as The Addams Family Chronicles. But it's...
Me too. I was like, oh, she was in an episode of... Oh,
no, it's not.
No. Ooh, that looks like fun. Secret of Treasure Mountain from 56. Kind of like a westerny lost gold mine story. She's one of the leads with Raymond Burr.
Ooh, I'd kind of like to see that one.
Well, I don't know what you're doing with the rest of your day, Scott, but I think I'm going to spend some time trying to track down some of these other movies.
Yeah,
we're recording this on a Sunday afternoon, and I ain't got nothing else going on today, so.
I'm a big fan of Raymond Burr, so I'd kind of like to see this.
We'll see if we can find it. I'm sure it's not something we'll talk about here on the show, but you know what? It'll be something to talk about with you, man.
Yep.
Because I love talking about movies with you, brother. This has been fun.
This has been fun. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time since we've just done you and me sitting down rapping about a movie.
Yep.
When we are done recording, actually, I'd like to keep you on the line to talk a little bit about a more driven, centered, specific podcast project. But in the meantime, you've got your own show at DisneyIndiana.com.
Yep, we are in the midst of celebrating Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary this year.
That's almost as long as your podcast has been going, right?
Almost. Yep, Disney World opened October 1st, 1971. And unfortunately, a lot of their big 50th anniversary plans were kind of nixed because of the pandemic. But we're doing a little something where each month we're picking out something that opened with the park. And we could talk about a resort, we could talk about an attraction, whatever, and kind of doing a little bit of a dive into it, talking about it. Like last month, we talked about the Country Bear Jamboree, which opened in 1971. Which plans for that ride attraction were actually predate the park. And Disney had plans to build a ski resort in Mineral King, California. And they were going to have the ski resort that had a show in the evenings with audio animatronic bears that would sing.
Awesome. When I was a kid, I went to Disneyland. It's the only time I've been to Disneyland was as a kid, and I loved the Country Bears Jamboree. That was one of my favorite memories of that. And we bought a couple of records, actual LPs at Disney, and one of them was the Country Bear Jamboree record. And I played that over and over and over again because I loved it. I don't think I even really understood what it was they were taking a riff off of or what, but I just adored that, man. I was so bummed when I went to Disney World years later and it had already been shut down.
Backwards. It's still open at Disney World. It's closed in Disneyland.
I thought it was shut down at Disney. It was closed for whatever reason when I was at Disney World. There was something going on.
No, it's still in Disney World.
It's still oh, well, I got to go then, man.
Yep.
Bummer.
Yeah, they closed it in California and it replaced it with a Winnie the Pooh attraction.
But there's still like something on the wall from
Yes.
Country Bear Jamboree or something. It's something that Disney's always been good about.
If you remember from the Country Bears, there is the heads of Max, Buff, and I can't remember the other one. They're heads on the wall and they interact with the show a little bit. They're still in the Winnie the Pooh ride. If you ride through into one of the rooms, they're behind you. So you have to actually physically turn around and look behind you, but they're still there.
Yeah, when I was at Disney World, it was shut down for something. I don't know if they were doing a
maintenance or something.
Who knows? Yeah, I was so disappointed. I was like, oh man, I want to revisit this thing from my childhood so badly. I got Haunted Mansion, I got Caribbean, but I didn't get my Country Bears.
Yep, it's still open down there.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's what we're doing for this calendar year. Each month, one episode a month, we're going to focus on something different.
Right on. How many episodes are you up to now? You're like in year 12 or 13, aren't you?
I think we just put out episode 334.
Well done, brother.
And we put out a new episode every other Sunday. And knock on wood, we have not missed that scheduled date our entire history.
It's awesome. It's a heck of an accomplishment, man. Heck of an accomplishment. Awesome. Well, you can also catch up with Scott and Tracy at the Monster Kid Movie Club on Saturday. They're almost always there. I don't think you've missed any, have you? You've actually been there pretty much every time.
I've pretty much almost every time. And you've even opened it up to allow me to program a little bit of it here. Mm-hmm. I've been creating the pre-show for the past 10, 12 weeks, and it's just been awesome. I'm loving doing that. I do want to publicly thank you once again for giving me that opportunity. I've learned how to do some video editing and just had so much fun on doing that.
It's addicting, man. Video edit, man. I started playing with video and I just want anyway. So Scott does the pre-show from 11 a.m. to noonish Pacific time at monsterkidmovie.club or twitch.tv/monsterkidradio. Hop on over there and see Scott's handiwork. He usually puts together he always puts together a great collection, but usually it's like little cartoons and instructional films, some commercials, that sort of thing. Sometimes he sticks to a theme. Sometimes it's just random, and it's all the time fun.
And also my wife is on the stream quite a bit with her Stuffed with Character line. Mm-hmm. We've been promoting that as well. I've created some commercials for that. And every other stream now we've been doing a giveaway where you can enter a drawing to win some of Tracy's handiwork. And we've been trying to create characters that relate somehow to whatever theme Derek has planned or whatever he was showing. So we've created several characters that were specific for movies like back around the holidays. When you showed Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, Tracy designed a Droppo figure. We've also created the Iron Monster from the Bela Lugosi Phantom Creeps short. We've created a Master from Manos, the Hands of Fate. She's done a whole bunch of stuff like that, and it's just been a lot of fun. And it's also been a lot of fun to create those commercials and puppeteer her little figures and do little voices for them. So it's been a lot of fun.
She has already told me what you guys are planning for this weekend's stream, which is all spider themed. Do you know what the giveaway is going to be, what the item will be, so listeners can look forward to it, or do we want to make them come in on Saturday to watch?
I didn't ask Tracy if she was ready to give it.
Oh, do you want to commit something for her now and then just you told him what? No, just I guess you're going to have to come back on Saturday. Come check out the stream on Saturday.
But there will be a Stuffed with character that is related to spiders. I can say that much. The pre-show is also related to spiders.
All right, Scott, this was awesome.
It was.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, and thanks again for allowing me to be a part of Monster Kid Radio.
Dun, 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 dun.
Screaming tires or squealing lemon, they're all the same to the speed merchants of the Fireball 500. By day, the dirt track is a jungle as the kings of the speedway fight for survival. By night, it's the same when they meet their women.
That's playing rough, Dave. Someone could get hurt.
Only chickens get hurt.
Stop crowing, baby. You're a man.
American International presents Fireball 500, the story of the men who love their track fast and their women the same. Starring Frankie Avalon, wild on wheels, Annette Funicello, rough on outclass competition, and Fabian the Tiger with built-in performance, with Chill Wills, Harvey Lembeck, and Julie Parrish. Filmed in Panavision and color with racing motors, screaming tires, flaming passions, and thrills and spills. Fireball 500 is one dare beyond imagination.
Why, what are you looking for under a tombstone in broad daylight? Shh! You'll scare her away. Scare her away? Who? What? What can you scare away here in a cemetery?
My ghoul friend. She's the ghost in the invisible bikini.
What are you putting me on? Herbie, I know you're broad-minded, but this is ridiculous.
No, I'm serious. And you should see her since she traded her bedsheet for a bikini.
Well, you must enjoy looking around for a real nothing broad.
It's really just that American International is inviting everyone out to the graveyard for a blood-curdling blast with the ghost in the invisible bikini to see Tommy Kirk, Deborah Wally, Aaron Kincaid, Harvey Lembeck, and Jesse White with Nancy Sinatra, and guest stars Basil Rathbone, Boris Karloff, and Susan Hart in The Ghost in the Invisible Bikini in Pathé Color and Panavision.
Now, you would have to get commercial. Now you scared her away. Ooh.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of Monster Kid Radio. I really appreciate everybody being here, and I had a blast editing this show. So much so that, you know what? I'll tell you right now, I'm going to peel back the monster curtain. It is 1:59 a.m. Thursday, April 15th. Yes, I'm a night owl. And I'm not tired. I am on the jazz because I had so much fun putting this episode together. Recording the intro and the outro is one of the very last things that I do for the show. So waiting to the last minute to do this part, I don't know, maybe I should do it sooner, but I'm not exhausted the way that I normally am. I am so piped up. I'm not tired. I am wide awake. In fact, if I had access to Dragon Slayer, I'd watch it as soon as I got done putting this episode out. Or, you know what? I'd go watch one of those surf movies that Scott and I talked about during that conversation, because, darn it, I like me a good surf movie. Yeah. Anyway, a lot of things to talk about. So Scott brought it up during the conversation, the book that I've got in the works right now. There is an active Kickstarter for a role-playing game supplement called Monsters from the Public Domain. I'm taking my love of Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy role-playing games and classic monster movies and mixing the two. I am currently writing this supplement. I'm taking public domain monster movie monsters and I'm creating stats and write-ups for them for you to use in a Dungeons and Dragons game for 5th edition. And it's been a blast. I've got some incredible artwork that's been sent in by Derek Benson, who contacted me after I launched this Kickstarter. Some of you who have been on the stream when you watched movies with us this past Saturday, and I think I might have even posted some of them this past Tuesday. Maybe I did. I don't remember for sure. But I posted some of the artwork, including this awesome rendition that he did of a killer shrew, because that's one of the monsters in the book. It's fantastic. His rendition of Nosferatu Oh man, I cannot wait for people to see what he's doing. If you want to head over to tinyurl.com/public monsters, that'll get you to where you need to be to check out the Kickstarter campaign, take a look at the updates, because that's where some of the artwork is posted. And probably Thursday or Friday by the latest, I'll be putting another update out there. I want Derek Benson to be paid. Normally, with a book like this, you want to make sure that you work your art budget into your initial campaign goal. In this case, I was planning originally to just do what I do with Photoshop and work up press kit information, publicity, photos, posters, and things like that, and D&Di's them a little bit. That was the original plan. But now that we've got an artist, an incredibly cool artist, man, this stuff is great, who had reached out to us about being involved with the book, I want to make sure that the brother gets paid. And not just because his name is Derek like me, and he spells his name like me. He's just a great artist, and I want him to get compensated for his work. And I'm dying to ask him to do a Dungeons and Dragons version of The Creature from the Haunted Sea, but I feel really awful about asking him to do that unless he gets paid. So we're trying to hit our stretch goal of $1,850, so that some of that money can go to him. Anyway, link in the show notes to that. Show notes can be found at monsterkidradio.net, and that's where you're going to find everything you need to know about Monster Kid Radio. You got links to our Facebook page, our Facebook group, our Twitter, our Discord, our Twitch. It's all right there. Plus, you can even buy a copy of The 27th Day for your very own by using the link at the show notes. It's an Amazon affiliate link. Every time you purchase something through Amazon, anything through Amazon, by first clicking on one of my affiliate links, you're helping out the podcast by, well, supporting us when you buy something you would normally buy anyway. You don't have to buy a movie. Let's say you buy batteries from Amazon. Please consider using the affiliate link to get there. Just click on it, type in batteries, and you know how Amazon works. And I'm not saying batteries, I mean anything, especially if it's a top dollar item. Please consider using our affiliate link because it helps us out. And the reason I'm stressing things like this, and I don't want to come across as one of those podcasters or one of those content creators, but I want to be straight up and I want to be honest with everybody here. And I mentioned this a little bit on Tuesday already. I want to mention it here now. So, if you've been listening to the show for the past several months, or hanging out with us on the stream, or chatting with me on Facebook privately, you know that Brenda and I are going through a divorce. It's still happening. I know it's been kind of ongoing. Pandemic made things really slow. And Brenda and I are still friends. You know, we're still friendly. Yeah, it still kind of sucks, and I still have down moments, but Brenda and I are still friends. We were talking the other day, and I really need to do something about moving on in terms of moving out of where I'm living now. I got to find somewhere else to live, and I don't have a quote-unquote real job. I have money coming in from Patreon, which is amazing. I've got money coming in from Twitch and the donations for the giveaways that happen on Twitch. I have some successful Kickstarter campaigns, one that's already funded, and then this other one that's, you know, still going for another 10 days. I've got income coming in, but it's not going to be enough to support me moving into my own place, especially since prices around here in the Portland area are pretty high, and I'm not really interested in leaving the Portland area. I'm not that desperate yet. So to that end, I'm looking for work, specifically remote work that I can do from home, because Brenda and I are sharing the car. She lives in a completely different part of town than I do, on the other side of the river. So I wouldn't have a way to get to my job if I had to drive somewhere on a regular basis outside of using public transportation. And I don't want to do that while we're still dealing with the pandemic. So yeah, I'm looking for remote work. I've applied for several jobs. If something happens where I start working somewhere that conflicts with the things that I do on Monster Kid Radio, I just want to give everybody kind of a heads up now. In order of, I guess, priority, if I had to give something up, Tuesday's science fiction stream would be the first thing to go. Then the movie stream on Saturday. finally the podcast. And I don't think it would ever get to that point with the podcast. I was working a full-time job when I launched the podcast. I don't see that going anywhere. But in terms of doing any kind of work on a Tuesday or Saturday, I don't think I could maintain a movie stream plus do a remote job from home on any kind of schedule. So I just kind of want to let people know what's happening there. Again, I don't want to see it happen. It's not my intention. I can't imagine not having these streams in my life. It means a lot to me to do those and, provide that for my friends, for the community that you guys and gals have kind of built around me. Again, this is not me doing some sort of passive aggressive, hey, wouldn't you like to be a patron or give me a donation or anything like that. It's not about that. I just want to be honest about what could happen in the future. Because of some of these changes that may or may not happen, or even whether or not they happen or not, but whatever. If there's anybody out there who would be interested in helping me run some of these things, I could really use a hand. There's not a lot of activity on the Facebook page, but I think I probably get 1 or 2 member requests a week for the Monster Kid Radio Facebook group. It's a public group, but to get in, you've got to answer a couple of questions. And I've heard rumors that Facebook may be changing how they're doing their groups and that anybody can join whatever. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I'd love to get another moderator or 2 in the Facebook group. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in doing, drop me a line at monsterkidradio@gmail.com and we'll talk about it. Also, I already have one moderator that helps me out on the streaming side of things. There may be times when I set the stream and I have to walk away for a little while because I might be doing something else, like a job thing. I could use some help there as well, especially since on Tuesday, April 20th, we're running a 24-hour stream. It's not science fiction, though. I mean, maybe the government wanted it to be science fiction back in the day when they first released the movie Reefer Madness, but that's what we're showing. On April 20th, on 4/20, I'm putting Reefer Madness on a 24-hour loop at twitch.tv/MonsterKidRadio. Why? Because I think it's funny. That said, I have been running Reefer Madness through a couple of different programs that I have here to try to enhance the image a little bit, to make it look sharper than it has ever looked before on home video or on home media. So if nothing else, it'll look better than it ever has. The movie runs just over an hour long, which means we're probably going to get like 22 or 23 plays out of the thing. I am not creating a huge 22-hour long video file. I'm just going to create a file and hit loop and hit play and call it good. But I'm not going to be able to maintain or watch the chat room the entire time that it's running. So I could use a hand, I think, if there's anybody that feels like they would like to take on that extra responsibility. Because, again, I want to make sure that, it's still a safe place and a fun place to hang out in. I'll probably set some auto moderation filters up to more so than normal. But, yeah, drop me a line. Again, monsterkidradio@gmail.com. Reefer Madness is one of these films that the government put together and released. It was kind of a beware the dangers of marijuana movies. And I know their heart was in the right place, and this isn't a politics podcast. I'm not going to talk about legalizing marijuana or what I really think about, how things are treated, whatever. It's not about that. I just think it's hilarious that I'm going to run. I'm amusing myself. I'm running Reefer Madness on 4/20. Anyway, that's what's happening on Tuesday. We talked a little bit about it with Scott on Saturday. It's Spider Saturday. We're going to be showing nothing but spider-themed and spider-referencing movies, I guess, because movies like Web of the Spider don't really have like a killer spider in it or whatever, but, it's in the title, so whatever. We're going to be showing Horrors of Spider Island, The Giant Spider from Christopher R. Mim, an independent short film from Oregon from a few years ago called Adam Age Spider. We're going to be showing, what was the other one? Like, is this Venom of the Spider? Is that what it was called? Let me double check. The Legend of Spider Forest. That's what we're showing. We're also going to be showing an episode of Tales of Tomorrow called The Spider's Web. So that's what we're doing this Saturday. If you want to see some spider goodness, you know where you want to be on Saturday, the 17th. It's the Monster Kid Radio Twitch channel. Oh, hey, did you know we have a Reddit now, too? Monster Kid Radio's on Reddit. Just look up Monster Kid Radio. I'll put a link in the show notes to that as well. Not a lot of conversation happening there either because it is brand new, but yeah, if you're a Reddit user, new place for you to talk about Monster Kid Radio. I'm trying to find a way for people to talk about MKR and classic monster movies anywhere they go on the web. So that's what that's all about. Next week on the show, let's talk about what's coming up. I have 3 recordings happening over the next 3 days. And I'm not sure which one I'm going to run next week, but I think it's going to be an episode with me and Ryan Lengyel, whose last name I probably butchered. And when I have him on the show, I'm going to ask him to pronounce it for me so that I can always remember. At least maybe I can get the monster and the machine to remember it for me. But he's going to be joining the show. Who is he? He is a stop motion artist. He does some incredible work. Most recently, you can see his pterodactyls and Cowgirls versus Pterodactyls. He's going to be joining the show, and he and I are going to be talking about our top 3 favorite stop motion monster movies, not by Ray Harryhausen. I know, blasphemy, right? Harryhausen is the man, but there's also some really good work out there from, other people than Ray. I know, crazy, right? Anyway, Ryan and I are going to talk about that next week on the show, more than likely. And then the week after that, I don't know yet. I don't want to commit. But I have some more recordings coming up. You know what? I feel like I'm just kind of rambling now, so why don't we go ahead and bring this to a close? Monsters in the Machine. I know I've already mentioned the email address. Why don't you tell the listeners the email address and our phone number for good measure? Let the people know how they can get a hold of us.
You can call and leave a voicemail for Monster Kid Radio at 503-810-5MKR. That's 503-810-5657.
Or you can send an email to the podcast. monsterkidradio@gmail.com is the email address. That's monsterkidradio@gmail.com.
Until next week, Monster Kid Radio is a registered service mark of Monster Kid Radio LLC. All original content of Monster Kid Radio by Monster Kid Radio LLC is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 3.0 unported license. Of course, it does not apply to the song Hipster on a Beach. That is copyright 2019, Moms I'd Like to Surf, which you can find at momsidliketosurf.bandcamp.com. Follow the link in the show notes. Buy their album and let them know that you heard about them here on Monster Kid Radio. My name's Derek M. Cook. I'll talk to you next week. Ciao.